Hey guys, this is Team Halo from the Game Guru forums, and I made this quick video tutorial to show you how to bring 3D models into Game Guru. What we're going to be doing is essentially we're going to be creating 6 different files. Game Guru requires these files to function properly and render your assets in-game. You're going to need your model file, which is a proprietary .x format, your FPE file, which is basically a explanation of what the entity is, what it's going to do, how it's going to display in-game, your texture files, your diffuse, normal, and specular, and then a little icon that will display what your entity looks like in the editor. So let's get started. So this tutorial assumes that you already have your model completed, your textures are finalized, and everything is all set in your 3D Studio. So what we're going to be doing is first, in order to export to the .x format, you're going to have to download this little plugin called KW Exporter for 3D Studio Max. I've included a link in the description, and it has support for Max versions 2015 to 2009. So you're going to download and install that plugin, and then you're going to also install the plugin for Adobe Photoshop if you're going to be using that for texturing, which will allow you to save your textures as Direct Draw Surface DDS files. You're going to need 3 texture files for all your entities if you want them to work properly with the Game Guru Light Mapper. Your diffuse texture, which is essentially your color texture map, your normal map texture, and then your specular map texture. Save them all under the same naming convention. _S for specular, _N for normal, _D for diffuse. In our 3D Studio, you're just going to select your model, you're going to File, Export, Export Selected, and then I already have a folder set up where I'm going to be saving my media for this tutorial. So we're just going to name this Shanty_Shack. Save it, and then a little dialog box is going to pop up, KW Export, and the standard settings are fine. You're just going to click Export Materials. You can use this dialog if you're exporting animations, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're just going to be exporting a standard entity. So click OK. It's going to save your model file. I've already saved the textures. You're just going to want to save them as DXT1 in Photoshop with those naming conventions. So this is the media I have so far. So now what I have to do is I'm just going to render a small little icon in 3ds Max. This icon's going to be on display when you go in your editor and when you want to navigate to it and click on it. So I've got my renderer open. I already have a camera set up. I'm going to switch my light tracer on. And then I'm going to set my output to 128 by 128. A little square. It doesn't have to be that big. Set it to a white background. Hit render. And it's going to load a really simple little icon of what my entity looks like. Save this image. I'm going to save it in the same folder that I saved my model file. Now this is the important part. You're going to want to name it the same name that you want the entity to be called. So I'm going to just call it Shanty Shack. And you're going to save this as a bitmap file. BMP. Save. Click OK. I've got my model file, my textures, and my icon saved and ready for Guru. So now all I have to do is we're going to be using and creating the FPE file using the standard FPE that I provided in the download, standard entity. What we're going to be doing is just creating a copy, pasting that into my media folder. Paste. I'm going to rename this Shanty Shack. Now it's important that you keep the same name for your FPE and your BMP icon file or image file. If it's a different name, it could cause some problems in the editor. Again, though, it's not really important that you have the thumbnail, but if you want to be uploading for the store, you're going to be required to have a thumbnail with a white background. So anyways, so we have our FPE file. We're just going to open it up. I'm going to change the description to Shanty Shack. And then I'm going to enter in my texture and model information. So switch this texture to slums. change this model to shanty underscore shack. And now I'm good there. So now the last thing I need to do is I'm going to set my collision and set my material index. So this model, it's basically just a shack thrown together with some corrugated metal plates. So I'm going to set this material index to metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that little text file included in the download that has the material index list. So I'm going to open this up, and I see metal is 2, so I'm just going to set my material index to 2. And then my collision mode, see, for collision, this model, the player's going to want to enter inside of it. So you're going to want to be able to walk inside. So the collision has to be set to allow that. So by default, collision for Guru is box collision. So what we're going to do is just set this collision mode to 1, which is going to allow polygonal collision. So I have that set by default just because a lot of my models require polygonal collision because I do a lot of enterable stuff, a lot of buildings. So I'm going to set that to 1. And then also for simple obstacle equals 3. Now this is a new FPE setting required. Now with the new update, what that's going to do is it's going to allow AI to navigate inside of your interiors. So for this model in particular, you're going to want it to be allowed to do that. So I'm finished with my FPE file. Everything looks good. File, save. Going to close that. Open it up in my media. So I've got my 6 files that I originally showed you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Steam. In my Game Guru setting, I'm going to right click Properties, go to Local Files, and click Browse Local Files. What this is going to do, it's going to open up the game files, and you can see all of your custom media needs to be imported in through this method. So under Files, click on Entity Bank, and here's where you're going to see all of the folders where all the stock media exists. Now you can put your media anywhere. It doesn't really matter. You can create a new folder. You can upload it to the folders that are already there. It really doesn't matter where you put it. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to put it in my tutorials folder. And you can see here I made a new folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the shack in its own folder. I'm going to call it Shanty Shack. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this media that I just created. Paste it in here. So now it's already installed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Guru and see if everything worked properly. So I'm going to click play. So now my editor launched, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to drop down my player start, throw in a white light, and then I'm going to go to my Entities tab, Add New Entity, find my folder that I created, Tutorials, Shanty Shack, and there's my model. It's displaying with the thumbnail that we created. Click on it, click OK, and then here's my model. It's going to load. It looks good from right here. Textures are looking good. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, place it inside here. Now I'm going to do Run Test Game. So click on your Test Level button. Now this is going to load up. I'm just going to double check and make sure the model is running properly. Everything's running how it should be. The collision's working. Textures are working. Sometimes if you run into problems, it's going to happen here. So you always want to test your media. Okay, so it looks like the media is imported properly. I'm displaying it. It's working pretty well. So let's see. Collision seems to be working. So now the last thing we have to test is the light mapper. So let me set my texture settings to max. So what we're going to do is just on your keyboard, just press F4, and that's going to run the light mapper. So what that's going to do is just going to use your texture files, and it's going to light map the model. It's important to keep your texture files saved in the conventions I stated earlier, _D_S_N. If you don't have them saved, you're going to run into problems with the light mapper, so you're just going to want to make sure that your texture files are set properly. Okay, and here we go. So here's our textured model, and it seems like the light mapper has done its job and it's working, and everything looks good. And I hope this tutorial has helped you bring in some of your custom media. But if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, comment below. Add me on Steam, actually. I'm just new to the platform, so if you want to add me, my username is Team Halo. I'm an old FPS Creator user, so some of you guys may know me. I just launched a new pack on the store if you want to check it out. It's Guru Buildings Volume 1. It's got about 30 buildings or so that are usable with Guru, high-res textures and stuff. If you want to check it out, my store username is Valuable Assets. I've included this entity as a download in the downloaded file. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Good luck with building your assets.